Welcome back, everybody. Mark Farzetta, Derek Gunn, Tone to Shields. We're in for, Gunner's always here. Tone's producing. I'm filling in. Rob Ellis taking care of his lovely daughter, getting used to the college world. So we wish her all the best and hope Rob's having a fun time showing her around town and all that stuff. He'll be back on the show on Monday. So we talked a lot about Sidney Brown already. The joint practices here with the Browns, something is very interesting in particular here. Apparently there were some rather upset members of the Cleveland Browns yesterday after the Eagles had their way with the Browns. Granted, at practice, but the Eagles had their way with them, apparently. And one of the guys that was rather upset was Joel Bitonio, who is an all-pro, two-time first team, I believe three-time second-team all-pro. He said he didn't like how the Eagles were hitting Deshaun Watson, quote-unquote hitting Deshaun Watson, went on to cite that they were knocking the ball out of Deshaun Watson's hand when they were winning a pass rush. This seems a little ticky-tack there, Gunner. I don't really think this is anything worth bragging about, but I like the idea that they're already in the Browns' heads, especially if you're Jalen Carter or Nolan Smith and you're beating all pros.
Well, Cleveland, has one of the better offensive lines in the National Football League, and they take pride in the fact of protecting their quarterback. And nobody wants to see their quarterback get hit because that's considered the no-no of joint practice sessions. You do not touch the quarterback. But I think it was more so them getting their butts beat up front, because everything I saw coming out of camp yesterday is that the Eagles' defensive front was using and abusing the Browns' offensive line. And I think it goes from there. I'm surprised it didn't go a little further than that, because Joe also said, it's a good thing we're not practicing against them today because it would be a bloodbath. And as I'm looking around social media earlier today, I saw things really got out of hand between the Ravens and Washington. Both teams spill out in the field. Then this morning, Jets and Tampa Bay, extracurricular stuff started happening. Both teams spilled out to the middle of the field. It was like a rugby scrum, So, from a perspective of keeping things under control and getting a lot of work done in a short amount of time, kudos to both the Eagles and the Browns for doing that. But I'm sure it's the frustration of them getting their butts handed to them yesterday by this Eagles defensive front.
Man, listen, D-Gun, if you won't say it, I will. He mad Jalen Carter was whooping that ass. That's what that sound like to me, okay? That sound like somebody who's a little bit out of shape, that a rookie came in and put those two all-pros in the trash can and took it out to the pasture. You know what I'm saying?
Tone talking smack.
Hey, listen. I'm all about showing mad respect, right? But you can't be the one talking about, they took cheap shots on my guy. Listen, the ball is fair game. They hit the ball. They didn't touch him. They hit the ball. That's all it is, man. It's okay. You got to get used to stripping the quarterback. You got to get used to putting that pressure on them. And it ain't no disrespect. These guys is hot and ready to go. It's hot outside. It was humid. John McMullen was out there. He was saying, "Listen, man, it was so hot out there, man. You knew a thunderstorm was coming. That's how bad it was." So look, all I know is rain, sleet, or snow. Them birds trying to go. I'll leave it at that.
It's hot. You're pushing up against, guys, hitting guys. You don't want to get hit. If somebody hits you a certain way, you take exception to it because the heat is intensified out there as it is. Tempers flare. It's a part of the game. And especially, you don't want to be embarrassed, because when you get embarrassed, then your coaches are yelling at you. So it's understandable. And based on what we've heard, I'm surprised they didn't go to Knuckle Junction, to be honest. Taking the Duke City.
Here's my issue. All right, if they were taking cheap shots, plural, why wasn't there more of a scuffle? Why wasn't there more of a problem? If Deshaun Watson's actually getting touched, hit, pushed, whatever, and you don't like that as an all-pro offensive lineman, then where the hell are you while all this is going on? You're just going to, I can't wait to complain to the media after this practice is over. I could do something right now on the field.
Wait,
but no, I'm going
to say that again.
I'm going to complain to the media about it. I can't wait till I get in the locker room.
You don't want me to touch your quarterback?
Exactly.
Don't let me through.
Yeah, exactly.
You know it's
exactly.
just that simple.
So to me, to come out afterwards and talk about it and not really do anything about it on the field, I guarantee you, somebody goes over there. If Myles Garrett was getting a little too close to Jalen Hurts at practice, if he was doing anything that pissed off the offensive lineman, there'd be a problem right then and there. And guess what? The day before the first practice, there was an issue. Jordan Mailata was getting beat the brakes off of, so much so I think it was
Myles Garrett.
By Myles Garrett. If they put it out there, or Jeff McClain of the Inquirer put it out there saying that if it was a game, it would have been a situation where you had to make sure you were running another tight end to that side to help him out, or running your blocking scheme just for Myles Garrett. So there was an issue. There was no issue apparently with the Eagles, bitching and moaning about how Myles Garrett was acting after the fact. And if there was, they would have handled it immediately. They wouldn't have waited to address it with the media afterwards.
It's just look, man, it's training camp, and they're the ones that are saying they put more stock into these joint practices than the preseason games. Well, you gotta let off some steam somewhere. Like you said, Farzy, everything was all good until Sidney Brown laid the hit. So don't start talking about cheap shots all of a sudden. Listen, and as far as I'm concerned, it was a clean hit. So regardless, man, it's not like they tackled Watson to the ground. They just, smacked that ball out of his hand a little bit. Let him know that, listen, you better make sure those butterfingers are nice and stiff, man, because, we're coming. And look, here's the thing, right? It's so I like the mentality that this Eagles team is approaching their offseason, right? They're clearly in a mindset that we have unfinished business, and everybody else in our way is simply food. You're just asphalt on the tread. You get what I mean? Like you're just a path to the ultimate destination. And I think that's what we're seeing here. We even saw Nick Sirianni throughout many practices that he was going at his team for lack of discipline, lack of technique, lack of attention to detail, so to speak, right? So when you couple all those things together, this team understands what's at stake here. And they refuse to leave any stone unturned. Like I said, anybody else on the schedule, anybody, joint practice, preseason, whatever it is, you're just appetizers to the ultimate meal, because you can't get to the meal without getting through your appetizers. And listen, if you want dessert, you got to finish those vegetables, okay? And the Eagles didn't finish their vegetables in that Super Bowl. It's just that simple. Finish your vegetables and you get the dessert.
Yeah. We're on the mozz sticks. We're on the mozzarella sticks. We're on the twice baked mashed potatoes with a little cheddar and bacon on top. That's where
the little mac and cheese bites. We're sitting right there right now.
Well, see, this team set a standard defensively last year that was unequaled in terms of quarterback pressures, quarterback sacks. So that is carried over into this training camp. This is what we are. This is our identity on defense, that we're coming after you up front. Try to stop us if you can. So I understand they're practicing. What is the old adage? Practice makes perfect. This is where that starts, in training camp, because you have so many new pieces to the equation. You want to make sure they understand exactly what is expected of them. We set a precedent last year that was unequaled, and we intend to carry that over into 2023. And you better be ready to jump on board with what we're doing, because we are nonstop. We deep, we rotate, we are nonstop. If you're in there, you better make your presence felt.
All right, real quick, I want to ask you guys this question, because we got the camp crushes that are out there. We got the people that are Mr. Training Camp. I remember plenty of Mr. Lehighs back when I was at Lehigh University, right? What was the other one? Widener, but was it Widener before Lehigh? Was that the order?
Yeah.
Okay, that was my first one. That was my first one. Who are your all-time camp crushes, Mr. Training Camps, whatever you want to call it? Any names jump to mind? Because there's one in particular that jumps to mind when I think about a guy that in training camp, this guy, wait till you see Hank Basket. Wait till you see him reeling passes from Donovan. Hank Basket. God. That Hank Basket guy. Man.
Mine is Travis Fulgham. You know that.
God. Travis Fulgham. Well, he at least had a flash in the pan during the season.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he flashed out. Everybody's like, what happened to him? We thought he was headed for the Pro Bowl early in the season. The 1 year, then all of a sudden he was in the witness protection program.
Lord have mercy.
And then all of a sudden he was in Green Bay with actual members of the witness protection program. That was one. Travis Fulgham's, Hank Basket's another one. Who else is out there?
I got like 7 on a list here.
Who do you got?
It starts with Donnell Pumphrey.
Oh wow!
Yeah. He came. He ran for over 2,000 yards his last season at San Diego State. Eagles draft him. Everybody's thinking, man, this dude's going to be a great addition to our backfield. Well, he was, fourth. Was he fourth on the depth chart? But his rookie year, he tore his hamstring. So he never really did much of anything. And then the next year, he was gone, went to Detroit, came back, down there on Pumphrey. I mean, this guy was Mr. Everything. Great back coming out of college. Small.
Was he a third round pick or a second round?
What year? What was he? 2000. Was he third or fourth? I think he was fourth round pick.
I think, fourth round pick. Okay, yeah.
But he was supposed to be the next great one coming out of college. 2,000-yard rusher. Got everything. Don't judge him by his size. He can do it all. That man couldn't get out of the tub. You can't make the club if you're in the tub. And he wasn't here that long. But my all-time favorite, because I'll never forget this one. In 2011, Eagles drafted safety out of Temple University, Jaquan Jarrett.
Yeah.
In the second round. And I remember Howie Roseman. Have you seen this kid hit? Howie's just salivating about this kid, Jaquan Jarrett. Have you seen him hit? Man, Jaquan Jarrett was gone before his uniform got wet. I mean, and the thing is, I love the kid. I went up to his home in Brooklyn. They lived in like a row house, him and his mom. You walk in the house, narrow house, but the most gracious family you ever wanted to meet. Very well mannered, very well spoken, soft spoken guy. You're thinking, okay. But he got out on the football field and it was like, hey man, you played the game in college, right? I mean, you did play. Dude, it was like, and Eagles gave up on him real quick. They realized real quick that we made a glaring mistake here. And he was a second round pick. I got Nate Brown. Nate Brown was supposed to be the next great receiver.
Oh my God.
Remember what's the dude? Is it Shelton Gibson? Is it Shelton Gibson?
The speedster. Oh, he was supposed to redefine speed at the position of wide receiver for the Eagles. That Shelton Gibson, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Spoiler, it didn't happen. It did not happen.
he redefined a lot of other things off the field. I'll just say that.
Don't forget, you cannot forget Danny Watkins. 25-year-old offensive lineman. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. His more claim to fame was being a firefighter than it was a football player.
He was a firefighter, a hockey player, and then a pile of nothing, and then football. That was like at the bottom of that. But the thing is, I'll say, not to defend Danny Watkins, but like at least he was a first-round pick. Like at least there was like, first-round pick. You're supposed to contribute as a first-round pick. And that guy had nothing. Howard Mudd, I remember talking to people in Gunner. Maybe you heard the same thing. Howard Mudd rode him into the ground. Like, Tone, you mentioned the whole thing about coddling people.
Broke him.
He broke him. It was like some guys need to be coddled. Danny Watkins is one of the guys that need to be coddled. And I guess Howard Mudd he liked a lot of things about him physically, but there were certain things about his game and his technique, obviously, because he barely played football. They wanted to teach him, and they thought the best way to do it was tough love. So the next thing you know, the guy's like, I think I'm just going to go back to running into burning buildings because this football thing is just not for me. But hey, he made some money.
That's a hell of a life choice.
The running joke was he made just enough money as a first-round pick to buy his own fleet of fire trucks. That's exactly what he did, because he got to a point we were all wondering, does he even want to play football? And they were wondering the same thing in the building. Does he even want to play football? Because Howard Mudd broke him down like a fraction, man.
Let me ask you guys this, right? Since we're on the training camp darling thing, let's take it a step further. Were there any guys who maybe they weren't necessarily deemed as training camp darlings, but they were brought into this team, be it draft, be it trade, be it free agent signing, they were brought into this team with super high expectations, like expectations that kind of transcend what they've already done. But bottom line is they come in with so many expectations and they just fall flat. Not like they just didn't meet it exactly. They fall flat. And one guy that comes to mind is Nnamdi Asomugha.
Oh my goodness, Nnamdi Asomugha.
That was so bad.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, you're right. People thought he was going to come in here and be that Pro Bowl player. My goodness. Nnamdi was already getting ready for his acting career.
Which he's doing pretty well at, actually.
I know, but he had his mind more on acting than he did playing football. You talk about articulate, intelligent. Nnamdi Asomugha, man, he could have run for political office. He was just that guy. But when it came to get on the football field, like, hey, this is not the same dude we got from the West Coast. Who is this? Yeah. How about John Hightower? Speedster. Couldn't wait. He's going to take the top off defenses. Man, he was so prominent that when first year of Sirianni, when they went to that playoff game against Tampa, he wasn't even on the active roster. But coming in training camp, he has all the attributes. He's going to be a good one. Has the potential to be this exception. What did he run, like a 4.3 or something like that?
He ran a 4.43. Yeah.
And man, he couldn't find the ball to save his life.
No, I think he had trouble staying healthy as well. So he was another one of those guys that just couldn't find his way on the football team regularly. There was one more, and it applies. I know we've discussed this before, but was it Casey Matthews?
Oh yeah, Casey Matthews.
Yes.
Oh yes,
a starting linebacker for this Philadelphia Eagles team. I can't remember if they were running the 4.3 at that time under Chip Kelly, but Casey Matthews was starting linebacker. He was supposed to come from this great football family, and he did. But as the old joke goes, the gene pool ran shallow by the time he got there, or he was from the shallow end of the gene pool.
People thought he was going to be the second coming of his brother Clay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something, man. Philadelphia fans fell out of love with him real quick. And he was getting all his pub and training camp also. He's going to fit our scheme perfectly. He does this, he does that. And that's another reason why I'm sitting back going, show me a game. When he got to the race, that man couldn't make a play unless a play stumbled in front of him.
Remember Byron Maxwell?
Oh, of course.
That was a rough one.
People couldn't wait to get Byron. I'll never forget. We're standing there at the press conference when he came in, and people said, Byron, out of all the teams we heard you were going to, why did you pick Philadelphia? And he sat there dead-faced and said, because they paid me the most money. Just dead, and everybody went, okay, all right. And he never came close to living up to expectations here. But when he got to training camp, everybody was salivating about having Byron Maxwell in the back end. Oh, here's another one. Twiz just put up, oh, my goodness, Kiko Alonso. Oh, my goodness.
Lord.
Oh. I felt he was getting ripped so bad in Philly. I felt bad for the dude. I really did.
Well, they traded. Now that puts the quarter in the machine gunner because, like, Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, like NFL wide, I don't think we're like generational talents. They both I think Deshaun could have success anywhere because it's taking the top off the defense. Shady obviously flourished with Chip Kelly and all that stuff, but they were generational talents here in Philadelphia that were just gone. And in return, and Kiko Alonso ended up playing well for Miami a year or two later. But here in Philadelphia, you would have never thought you would trade a marquee cornerstone offensive piece for a linebacker. And sure enough, Kiko Alonso was one of the guys that came in here. Deshaun was for nothing. Obviously, he was just cut for whatever reason, and still waiting to hear exactly why. And LaShawn McCoy gone for Kiko Alonso. And Kiko got hurt, I think, didn't he?
Sure yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah.
And when you talk to him, I don't think he would give you 5-word answers. I don't know if he was deathly afraid of microphones. I don't know if he was afraid of saying the wrong thing and getting called up on the carpet. Kiko Alonso never told you anything, and you sit there going, I just wasted 5 minutes standing here with a microphone.
Oh,
there's some guys who just don't fit into there's some guys that just don't fit into the defense. They don't fit into the playbook. They don't fit into the city. They don't fit into their genes. They don't fit into anything in the city of Philadelphia. They just, there's some guys who just don't fit. And Kiko Alonso was just that. He just didn't fit.
Mm-hmm. No, I couldn't agree more. Coming up, I do want to get into tomorrow night's game, what just the expectations are, what we expect to hear from the organization when it comes to who's going to be on the field, how long they're going to play, if we're going to see any of the starters or would-be starters out there again. So I want to get into that conversation ahead of the game tomorrow night at Lincoln Financial Field in South Philadelphia. So we'll get into all that more when we come back here on Sports Take. Mark Farzetta, Tone DeShields, Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis is off today, moving his daughter into college. Moving on up. We'll be back.